Getting Tuesday, the second business and the markets trading day started here on Business Morning. I am boosting them off. Let's get started. Nigeria's Finance Minister Kemi Adeosun shares an additional 750 billion naira is to be released this week for capital projects contained in Budget 2017. The Buhari's administration has been trying to pump more of the total capital expenditure monies in the 2017 budget into the market. That pledge was made about a few months ago now, a few days to the end of the year. The finance chief says the disbursement will now be made. That will bring the total capital expenditure, what you call the capex for 2017 budget, which was signed into law in June this year, to the doorsteps of 1.2 trillion naira. The first tranche of 450 billion was disbursed around July, August, when the budget was still fresh and hot off the press. Meantime, today, the Debt Management Office is retiring close to 200 billion naira bonds. The Debt Office says the Treasury bills totaling 198.03 billion, maturing December 14th and December the 21st, 2017, will be repaid in full at maturity and will not be rolled over. The bills will be redeemed primarily, according to a press statement issued by the DMO, using the proceeds of the $500 million Eurobond that Nigeria raised in November. That was last month for the refinancing of the domestic government treasury debts. The Debt Office, of course, representing the Nigerian government, is looking to free up space, quote unquote, in the domestic market for other borrowers, in particular the corporate borrowers, and to balance Nigerian government's debt portfolio mix of local 60% and foreign 40% borrowings. The treasury bills account for treasury bills holdings by the Nigerian government, DMO, and the central bank accounts for about 30.23% of Nigeria's local debt of 12.5 trillion naira as at the end of September. The target by the Debt Office was 25%. So the total treasury holdings by the government exceeds the target of the Debt Office by about 5%. Now, with this week's 198 billion naira maturity and redemption of those dated treasury bills, we expect to see that come down. We're having a broader conversation around the FX and the debt market with the man who is the chief debt market officer. We're talking about the FMDQ OTC Securities Exchange. Bola Onodelekoko is joining us for his first exclusive TV interview here within the hour, 10:15. You need to stick around for that interview. I will give us a review of 2017 as well as outlook for the FX and the debt market and the entire development of that space for 2017. We'll have a 30-minute conversation with him. You want to join that conversation on Twitter, you know how to find us at Channels TV, at B's Morning, and you can tag me at B Bolson. Let's get that conversation up and running. But let's get to the market. Is the party over at the stock market? The market went down almost 1% on Monday to start the week. Is this what you call the harvest time for the equities market that's been riding seriously hurt? 46.08% when we went off for the weekend on Friday. That has been shaved off very slightly, but we're still keeping that headline. All share index return 46% since 2017 started. The market cap was a shade of 13.6 trillion naira yesterday. And you look at the sectors, there was still a lot of strong buying in the market, in particular the financial services, banking to be precise, despite the profit taking nearly 2% on the banking stocks. The big boys still command the market heavy in terms of transactions. Zenith, $2.5 million. First Bank Holdings, or FBN Holdings, $1.5 million. In GTB, $1.4 million. Those three big banks accounted for about $5 million of the total $13.5 million transactions on the local stock exchange on Monday. Insurance lost 1.08%. Oil and gas was up 1.06%. We saw some gains there, and we've expanded that portfolio as well. Give us about a minute, we'll get to that. Industrial goods was off the track, 1.35%. Consumer goods, 0.75% in the green. Those are the five top sectors we track on a daily basis. But you can see the volume 350.59 million. That's quite significantly lower than what we've had as a daily average. In terms of value, well, not so bad. Close to 5 billion naira and less than 5,000 transactions. Let's look at the NASD. Over the counter, that's your unlisted securities market, following the bigger market, the NSE, down 1.88%. You can see the unlisted securities there, although still holding to 606.99 on the USR. In terms of volume, it's quite a bit of a strong volume. This is a bit of a profit taking as well. We're getting to Christmas, we're getting to New Year, rebalancing of portfolios. Look at the volume, 1.25 million shares on listed securities, on quoted securities on the NASD on Monday. That's the numbers there. We just need to move on, folks, very quickly. Look at the fixed income. And as always, you find the top four in terms of treasuries and bonds in the market for a very particular day. This is what the FGN bonds look like. And of course, we need to remind you, the debt office is also doing the final 2017 monthly FGN papers auctions this week. That's tomorrow. That's about 50 billion, 100 billion in total, about a reopening there. It's one of the smallest portfolio of borrowings by the Buhari's administration in 2017, in particular the third quarter, looking to borrow less locally and borrow more outside because of the yield or the coupon that the government pays from those it borrows from. That's the secondary trading from the FMDQ OTC market. If you take that away and look at the treasuries, you find a trading action still really packed into some of the papers maturing in 2018. And where is the news? Can you see the news on the screen? And I can see that. Look at the discount high, 9.95%. For the first time, you see the secondary market trading in treasury bills, the yield less than 10%, less than double digit. This is big news, and you need to follow this. 9.95 for treasury bills maturing 19th of April next year, and the same yield, discount high, less than 10%. And you can see the volume of naira there. You see 125.7 billion naira of sales yesterday. That's significant. Almost 500 transactions. Almost 300 transactions for the 19th of July 2018, 9.95%. And you see the 9.75%, even much lower than the April and July papers, 28th of December. And you see 16.9 for the 31st of May 2018. But you can see the size of that transaction. So I'm going to squeeze in very quickly the oil and gas market here. Of course, we are responding to some of our viewers saying we should expand the list of the oil and gas stocks that we cover on a daily basis to include the small cap. So we've expanded this for you, folks. Thank you very much for your interest in expanding them. But we did something. All oil and gas stocks that are trading at par and above are qualified. Anyone trading below par of 50 kobo, pardon, sorry, is not qualified for that. So you have a corn oil, 40 oil, double one, and MRS as well as Owando.